Today, I want to give you some tips about the medical school recommendation letter or a reference letter. I want to discuss the rationale, why they're asking you this. I want to tell you how to select who to ask for a reference letter or letter of recommendation, how to ask, what your referees should write. And I also want to tell you a little bit about what if this person all of a sudden asks you to go write your own letter and send it to them so that they could finalize and send it off. So let's first talk about the rationale. Why are medical schools asking you for letters of recommendation or reference letters? The reason for that is, well, very simple. Why should they believe you, right? Anybody could just make things up and write a bunch of BS in their application. Do you think they're just gonna believe you and I or somebody else who may be applying to medical school for just its face value? That just doesn't make sense. So it's part of the selection process. They gotta ask. They want to say, okay, you're telling me all of these things. You're telling me you're great. You're a leader. You're this. You're that. You're this. You're that. Where is the proof? Can someone else actually back up your story? And preferably at least 3 people can back up your story or not. So this now brings us to who should you ask for a letter of recommendation or a reference letter? Well, I have a step-by-step process that we teach our own students in our private consultations that I want to teach you. The ideal person is got several characteristics. One is must be somebody who knows you really well. It can be somebody you've worked with for like a week or 2 or a month. Like it has to be somebody you've done something meaningful with and has known you for a long time. Long enough that they could comment about your characteristics that medical schools care about. Most importantly, it cannot be family and friends. That's a given, right? It cannot be a family from friends. So the other sort of a thing is when you select these people to write you reference letters is you have to read the instructions, of course. And if the school you're applying to or the application process that you're submitting this through gives the instructions that are very specific. For example, they say, give us 3 academic reference letters or letters of recommendation. Then you have no choice. They have to be that. But if they give you choice, then diversify. It depends on the school and the application process, right? Now, if they don't give you any restrictions and they say, just give us 3 letters of recommendation from people who know you in the past, I would diversify as follows. I would go to a past employer. I would go to an academic reference, so someone you did maybe some research and took multiple courses. Courses alone are not enough. I'm going to explain to you one second why not. And so I would do employment, academic, and maybe somewhere where I did community service or volunteerism. Why I would do this if I have the choice? Because each of these individuals can provide different sort of characteristics. Now, I wouldn't choose someone based on the fact that I took a course with them or 2 courses, etc. And that's the only relationship I have with them. Why? Because they really can't say much beyond that. Hey, Bob, who is applying to your medical school, got a 93% in my organic chemistry class. Thank you so much. Regards. That's just BS, right? That doesn't say anything about you. That's all academic. They don't need your academic stuff. They only have your transcript, right? Don't focus on the academics and your marks. That's not what a reference letter or letter of recommendation is for a medical school. It's for the other characteristics. Now, if you want to know what these other characteristics are that medical schools are looking for, go to the governing body. For example, you could go to the AMC core competencies. They'll tell you what they are. You could go to CanMed's frameworks. So you could go to let's say you're applying in UK and Australia. Again, everybody's got their own governing bodies and they list the set of qualities their doctors must have. And guess what? Medical schools are already screening for that. So that's how you reverse engineer how to choose, who to choose, and essentially what they should write. Now, the next question is, how do you ask for a letter of recommendation? It's really important and it's often missed, or people ask it in a way that doesn't get them the best letter of recommendation, and it's a choice between an acceptance versus rejection. Here's what you got to do. First, send the person an email and say, hey, do you have some time for a quick chat, either over the phone or in person? If they don't have time in person, don't bother people. Just say, okay, over the phone is good, set up the time, and then talk to them. Then during the phone conversation, you're going to tell them that, hey, this is my plans. I'm applying to medical school. This is the reason why. And then you say this, and you say it exactly how I'm going to tell you. You're going to say, would you be willing to support my application by providing a strong letter of recommendation for my application? The keyword is strong. Then you wait. Then you say nothing. Then shut up and watch the person. That's why I like to do this in person. In person is not possible most of the time because they're busy, so you're not going to force that. So let's say you're doing this over the phone. Pause. If you get anything but an absolute enthusiasm for them to write you a strong letter of recommendation, do not go with that person. Just end it politely. Go find the next person. You need a strong letter of recommendation, not just any letter of recommendation. That's a very key concept that you have to understand. The other aspect that we want to talk about today is what should your referees actually write for you? Sometimes they ask for that. Normally the school or the application process service provides the instructions, so follow the instructions obviously. Normally what they have is a form they ask people to fill out who are acting as referees, and there's a bunch of questions and rankings based on other people they know at the same capacity in the past, like communication, ethical standards, blah, 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 good judgment, etc., etc. And then there's a free form text. It's rarely that they just send a letter, just a free standing letter. That's a rarely that's how it works. Now, the last thing I wanted to discuss today is I want to discuss what if, and this happens quite often by the way, what if you ask somebody, they agree to write you a strong letter recommendation, but they say, okay, you go write it first, then send me what you want me to write, I'll finalize and set it off. First of all, why would they ask that? Because they want to get a better sense of what you want to say, and they want to see if they're in sync with what you think of yourself versus the reality. The reality is what other people think of you, right? Not what you think of yourself. Most people either underestimate or overestimate their capabilities and characteristics. So they want to gauge if you're, in tune with who you are, because that's a good quality to have as a doctor, actually, knowing your limitations and your strength. So, but if they ask you this, what do you do? Well, again, go figure out the process, be as honest as you can, provide something, and go based on the qualities you need to address those, and put it in the context of how that person knows you, right? Not in general. Don't give general stuff, right? The person knows you in some sort of a context, right? Academic, research, volunteer, employment, something. So put yourself in their shoes and give examples of how you are a great leader, a communicator, blah, blah, or how you're working on those things, or how you were bad and now you've gotten better. Then send it off, and hopefully they'll get the hint how to write for you. And if they've agreed to write you a strong letter of recommendation, I'm pretty sure they will do that. If you were able to recognize whether or not they hesitated or not during that all-important question. So that was it. It's essentially not that complicated if you follow these steps. If you like this, go ahead and share it with a friend, and also like, subscribe on whatever social media channel you're watching this, and I talk to you soon. See you soon.